Welcome back to the Colour Cave, where we like to play with art stuff. It's Jem here, and today we're back in Tomislav Tomic's beautiful book to carry on with this page in Dromenvanger. So you can see I have been doing my homework a little bit. I've filled in all the rest of the background greenery and I've kind of spilled over onto the other page, but I'm kind of doing this alongside this. I will at some point have to tackle this giant toadstool and get it matched up with these ones. So I'm really just picking up from where I left off last time, and that is this part of the picture on the left here, and I was doing the flag the last time. So I just want to carry on from there and we shall see where today takes us. There are a lot of itty bitty bits to do now, so we won't be concentrating on any one specific thing, which I suppose is slightly more entertaining for you guys. I don't know, you tell me. So I wanted to start with this flagpole here just because I'd coloured the actual flag itself last time, and I'm going to have a little bit of an experiment here. I'm starting off with Tuscan Sun, just a reminder that we are in the Arteza 120 set of pencils and I'm using that throughout. So I'll start with this Tuscan Sun because I do want this to have a gold feeling to it, but I would like it to stand out from the toadstool that is behind it. So I'll pop this down to begin with. Now I don't have a huge area to work in, so I'm not going to get precious about it. I was kind of debating over colours for this bird as well, and I haven't really made my mind up yet. So we shall just carry on for a little while and I can mull that one over for a wee bit longer. Now the other pencil I've got here is gold, and it is a very green gold, I would say. And I'm just wondering what's going to happen if I try and put this down over the top of this Tuscan Sun. And it is going down over the top of it, and it's kind of giving it a bit of a tarnished look. But I suppose we can live with that. Maybe our gnomes don't polish their flagpoles very often, I don't know. It is a really insignificant area, but I just didn't want it to be all one colour. The next pencil I've got here is Dolphin Grey, which is A148, and I'm going to use this to fill in the window panes. I didn't want, again, just because there's already a lot of yellow going on, I didn't want to have like a light shining out any of the windows. It does seem to be relatively bright, so one could assume that it is perhaps during the day. And maybe our gnome friends like to help the environment and not leave all their lights on. So I'm not going to fill in all these little sections, absolutely like block colour them. I'm just going to use the grey and sort of scribble a little bit on, and it's more to try and get that sort of idea that there's a bit of a reflection coming from somewhere. So just a bit of sort of rough, this sort of back and forth scribbly motion. I've got this wee one down the bottom too. Now the next thing I'd like to tackle is some of the wooden areas. So we have a door here. We also have this little sort of set of steps up to the door. And I was also thinking we've got these kind of like extra parts of the window frames. I thought maybe I could do those in like a woody type colour as well. So I'm going to start with raw umber. And I'm going to start with these steps down the bottom. I'll just get a layer of this down and we can take it from there and see where we go with it. I am quite tired today. Not as tired as I have been the last few days, but I just seem to have been squishing in an awful lot of things and not really having enough hours in the day. So this is kind of like an hour of relaxing time. It is my turn to cook dinner tonight, so I thought I would do this before I have to go through and start rattling about in my kitchen. And tonight's menu consists of salmon with lemon and dill. So I am quite excited about that because I do like a good bit of salmon. So it's something that's fairly straightforward to put together, but we have this sort of divide because everybody eats different things. And Mr. Jem, to be fair, you can feed him most things and he'll eat them. But Papa Jem's quite fussy, and there's a lot of things he won't eat. So what's tended to happen now is that Mama Jem and I will eat the same thing, and then the boys will have something else. So they're just having straightforward, good old-fashioned fish and chips. Ever the exotic menu. I'm just watching what I'm doing with these steps here because there's quite a lot of lines. I'm not necessarily sure what belongs to what, but I think we're okay so far. I've come to the conclusion that this section here that I didn't colour before, I think it was Sophie that mentioned it, I've decided that I'm going to make that part of the stalk of this mushroom. Decided that that will be the best thing to do. So I will pick that up later when we get to that point. So the only exciting things that are going on here just now is decorating. That is about as good as it's going to get. Okay, and I'm going to stick with the umber theme, and I'm going to go to burnt umber here, which is obviously a much darker shade. So I want to think about the light source a little bit, so it's coming from this sort of direction. So realistically, we've got to kind of balance that out with the fact that there's a lot of sort of nooks and crannies here. But I think what we'll do is we shall maybe, this front edge of the step, that's going to be a place where that is going to come into play. I'm maybe going to stick a little bit of sienna brown in here just to warm it up a little bit. You know, maybe there's sort of different aspects to this wood. I am just making this up as I go along. You know guys, that's what I do best, to make up stories. Yeah, I'll maybe pop a little bit in there. Not too much though. And we'll have this burnt umber as our darkest colour. There we go, that's me, I've got a plan. Yeah, so we've been doing a lot of decorating. We're just trying to, because our hardware stores have opened back up now, I did take a trip yesterday and it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but there are quite a few things that I wasn't able to get. So it's just a case of working away, but it literally, our living room isn't finished. That was the room we started in. It's nearly finished, but not quite. And we were looking for, we have a world map to go up. It's like an antique world map that is going up on the wall. And we wanted to put a sort of dummy frame around it because it's a poster. And we haven't been able to get a bit of wood big enough. And when we went to the DIY place yesterday, the timber cutting service wasn't operational, so we couldn't even get a bit cut for us, so that was a bit disappointing. And there was tiles that I really wanted for one of our downstairs toilets, and they don't have them at all in that store. They just don't stock them, so I would have had to go to Edinburgh or Glasgow, which is way too far to be going for a set of floor tiles. And the best thing is the bathroom, it's what you would call in the US a half bath, so it's just a toilet and a sink. So the floor area is very small, and I thought I'm not going all that way to get these tiles for the sake of like less than 2 square metres, so just pick something else. So I have picked something else. So that was kind of a mixed bag yesterday, but at least we got the sort of essential things that we needed. So we can crack on, but it's mostly painting woodwork just now. And if any of you have ever done that in your own house, you will know that it is an absolutely thankless task. It's layers of sanding and letting things dry, and then more sanding, and then more coats of paint and let it dry. So, but Mama Gem's been really good. She's been doing a lot of painting. She's done a lot of it. And she's done a fairly good job as well, so. But when you sort of step back and look at the fact the whole house needs to be done, it's just, oh, you know, that's enough to make you want to say nope. But we will get there and we will do it. So we're literally just going a room at a time, but because the living room is more or less finished, we thought we would maybe take a crack and start working away in one of the other rooms. So I'm not overly optimistic that we're going to get a huge amount done, but we're going to try and get as much done as possible. Because the other problem is we have this jungle of a garden to deal with, which is just, oh, I keep going outside and then coming back in. I'm like, maybe if I don't look at it, it'll go away. So I'm feeling rather overwhelmed with it all, because this house is a lot bigger than our old house. And as I said many times, it needs a lot of TLC. It's and obviously it's expensive as well, so you've got to try and kind of balance everything out. But our last house was more or less walk-in condition. It was just a case of decorating it like to our own tastes, whereas this house needs proper maintenance before you can even think about how you want it to look. So yeah, I'm trying to remain optimistic, and it was obviously a very beautiful house at one point. It was well loved, but it hasn't been for a number of years. So we're trying to sort of restore it to its former glory in some sort of shape or form, without wrecking the place and also leaving ourselves eating beans on toast for the next decade. So it's a bit of a balancing act. But there is only so many tins of paint. I'm actually dreaming about paint now. It's ridiculous. It's just silly. I also had a dream the other night that we put a radiator in the little bathroom that we're working in just now. It doesn't have a heater in it. And I had dreamt that we had put a radiator in, and we'd basically, like where we had put it, you couldn't sit on the toilet. So you know that things are going wrong in your head and you're thinking too much about things when you start dreaming about them. But I did have a plan to have, I'd picked out these lovely tiles. They had a little bit of blue and a little bit of a sort of teal colour in them. And they looked absolutely gorgeous. And the ones I ended up getting they're patterned, but they're all sort of like mismatched. But they're all the same colour, and unfortunately that colour is grey. And I know grey is a very in colour for interior design just now, but I really, really don't like it. So my plan originally was to have navy blue on the bottom half of the bathroom walls, and the top half was just going to be white, and then the floor would tie in, those tiles would have tied in with the blue walls. So because we've changed the tiles now, I'm no longer having navy blue. And my dad has persuaded me into this sort of denim blue colour, but it made me realise that when we're finished, the entire room is going to be really drab because it's going to be white and grey essentially. So I've decided that on the wall behind the toilet, I was going to put like a little set of shelves or something up there, and I've decided I'm going to paint a really bright acrylic canvas. You know, like ridiculous colours, really offensive, just to brighten the place up and give it some colour. So I think I'm having real crumbly problems. This pencil lead isn't actually breaking, it's just crumbly. So that may be a video in the not too distant future, depending on how quickly we get on with our toilet. But yeah, that would be cool, doing a video on artwork that's actually going to hang in the house. So, and you guys could help me. You could vote and pick colours. Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, right, we're definitely doing that, everyone. That is happening. But it may be a couple of weeks yet. Depends how we get on with the painting. I'll keep you posted on that one though. That sounds like fun. Because really, when your space is grey and white, you can pretty much go any colour, can't you? That's not going to look out of place. So aside from my normal work, that's taken up a lot of my time just now. And we'll say just juggling the last of these kind of like lockdown videos as well. So my plan tonight after dinner is to sit down with my sketchbook for a little while. And I only have 2 pages left in my sketchbook. So I'm going to do a little bit of doodling and see if I can't finish that off. And get ready to start my new sketchbook. I'll put my sort of first drawing in, which again I already have planned out in my head. And that was a conversation that came up with one of my best friends who stays quite far away. And she used to art when she was younger, and it was just one of those things that after she left school it kind of fell by the wayside. But she's taken it back up again almost as like a sanity check, because she is a dispensary, so she works in the pharmacy, and obviously she has been very, very stressed out these last few weeks, so it's kind of like something, just like a bit of escapism. And she's also been watching The Colour Cave with her son, and they're kind of like doing their homeschooling art lessons off of some of the videos we've got, which is really, really cool. I'm really flattered by that. And I've also maintained the reputation of being mum's cool friend, which makes me feel as if I'm still down with the cool kids, you know. So yeah, so she was talking away about one thing and another, but one thing she has been doing is she's been growing a lot of plants and things with her son, you know, for their sort of sciencey bit. And at one point, one of our sort of oldest retailers, Marks and Spencer's, were giving out seed packets. And this was, you know, things to grow with your kids. So my friend has grown these on her windowsill, and she's basically got a jungle on her kitchen windowsill now, and she's had to start repotting them and putting them outside. And she's got this little strawberry plant, and she's very, very hopeful that it is going to sprout something. So I'm going to draw her like a little terracotta pot with just a giant strawberry on it. So I thought I would do a little sketch of that in my sketchbook, and I think that would make a really nice first page in my sketchbook as well, and I'm going to do it in pencil. So I'm really hoping that this new sketchbook takes coloured pencil well, because otherwise it would be stuffed. It's funny how you pick up these wee ideas from strange places. She also asked me to name one of her sunflowers, so I've called it Cedric. I couldn't figure out why the name Cedric had popped into my head, and then a parcel arrived today and it was paints from Julia. And most of you will know that Julia is a friend of the channel, and she hand makes watercolour paints, and it's because I've bought a paint from her and it's called Cedric, because all of her paints have like almost like people names, and that's where it came from. And Cedric is like a yellowy gold colour, so that was totally, you know, I did that subconsciously, but that's where it came from. Okay, I think I'm just going to take this Tuscan sun now, and there's a few little bits I just want to go like sort of rub the pencil over. I'm not really colouring it in, but it's just like I just want to kind of warm it up a little bit, make it more woody. Is that a thing? There we go. So we've got his little doorway in here as well, so I'm going to dispense of the raw umber for that, and I'm just going to straight in with this sienna and have that as like a base layer in his doorway. He's clearly ready to go out and do whatever he's going to do. He's got his little staff with him. Maybe he's going for a hike. I don't fancy going for a hike in those shoes, to be fair. Might be interesting. Now see, this looks like a bit of the door here, but I'm pretty sure that must be part of his leg, surely. I don't know. There we go. And then I'm back to this burnt umber, which is the darkest colour from down here. Just make that nice and rich. A couple of layers. And again, I'm going to go back to this Tuscan sun, and I'm just going to put a very light layer of that down. And just jump between these three pencils now. Again, I don't want it to be smooth because it is wood, and I would like to retain some of that woody look, woody-esque look. Yeah, that looks like quite a nice warm colour in there. That's good. See, because it's recessed as well, I don't want to make it too light, because there's not going to be a lot of light hitting in there. Pop a bit more in there. I've had to shuffle my schedule round as well. Normally when I plan out like a very loose structure of the videos that I'm going to film in a month, and I do it, you know, towards the end of the previous month, just so I've got an idea in my head of, you know, to like sort of mentally prepare myself for what I'm filming and when. And just because I'm waiting on a few things coming in the post for one of our stash videos and they haven't arrived yet, so I've had to kind of shuffle all my videos round about, and it's something that you guys will never know any different. You'll never notice. But it's kind of discombobulated me a bit because I'm not filming in the order that I thought I would be filming in. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that our postie is going to bring me a parcel in the next few days that is going to allow me to film the final stash video for our acrylics, because I am dying to get those acrylics out again. I'm super excited about that. I had such good fun. I usually do have fun, obviously, when I'm doing things like that, and you guys know, like, you can tell now when I'm having fun. You all know if I'm not enjoying something. I think it's one of those things, I find it quite difficult to mask my emotions with things, you know, and I can't really pretend that I'm enjoying something when I'm not. But the acrylics, I was especially having a good time with those. I think I'm going to colour his staff in with this sienna brown as well, and we'll maybe add in another pencil. This seems like a good colour for his great big stick. Now, Tomislav Tomic has obviously drawn these lines freehand, and I am amazed at how that and the flagpole as well, they're clearly not drawn with a ruler, and I have no idea how he's managed that. That's a talent in itself. And I do always try when I'm drawing not to use a ruler. I like to try and do lines freehand, but I don't think I would manage that. I think that is out with my my capabilities. A lot of people say though, things like that, it's just years and years of practice, and a lot of these colouring book artists, I'm on to Coco now, a lot of these colouring book artists have been artists for, you know, 10, 15, 20 years. And so I suppose if I keep doing it for 20 years, maybe I'll be able to draw lines like that as well. Right, that's looking fairly good. Looking fairly good. So when I'm thinking about these little window frames now, I've got this one in here. So again, that's kind of facing the sunlight, so I'm going to stick to the same colours. So I'll stick with this raw umber, and I'll pop a little layer of that down. And I think we'll stick with the sienna brown. We'll maybe keep these quite light on this side. And that is quite a soft colour, you know, it's not too red going down over top of the umber. Mama Gem's entertaining the dogs. They've all just disappeared out the cave because they heard her rustling in the kitchen, so she's playing with them now. So you might hear some dramatic noises if she starts chucking balls and things about, but the dogs love her, so yeah, right, I'm quite happy with that. Excuse me. So I think we'll just stick with this idea here. See what we can do. I was joking with Mum and Dad at breakfast this morning, and I was saying it's just as well that they don't live here permanently, because all of my dogs would end up the size of a house, because they're forever getting scraps and tidbits, and it's something that we don't do. Sometimes if I'm making soup, or like I'm preparing dinner or something and I've got a little spare bit of carrot or a vegetable, I'll give them that, but they generally don't get human food. And the first thing that happens when Dad comes downstairs in the morning is he goes into the biscuit tin and he gets like a digestive biscuit, and he splits it into 3 and gives a bit each to the dogs. So now because they've been here for so long, the dogs now expect it and they know what's coming. So the minute he comes into the kitchen, they all just sit down and look at him. It's hilarious. Like, yeah, gonna end up with fat dogs. But we don't even give them treats because Jock's skin is very sensitive. There's a lot of things he can't have. And the oldest dog, Woo, the Jack Russell, she has got quite a delicate stomach because of her age. So we just don't give them things now. And Pip gets plenty to eat anyway. So this is like a novelty for them. I keep saying to my mum and dad, I'm like, stop feeding the dogs. Like, stop giving them stuff. And they're all like, oh, we're just spoiling them. Like, yes, I know. Ruined. But to be fair, Pip's probably the one that will get away with it the most, because she's on the go all the time, and obviously being a young dog as well, she burns it off. Whereas Jock's starting to get a bit thick around the middle, and he's in his middle age. He's still not fat at all. He's never been a fat dog, but he's just not as athletic as he once was. Hi, Woo, are you back? Oh, here's Pip too. Hi. Well, everybody's coming back now. Hi, Jock. That's it, back to a full compliment. Okay, so I think this frame is going to be more umber than sienna. I'll maybe go a few more layers here first. And maybe our top of our flagpole is going to cast a little shadow there. Oh, that's novel. And maybe have a little bit of sienna on this side. And this one round here is going to be a lot darker. So more sienna on this one, I think. Yeah, pretty happy with that so far. I feel as if this picture's coming along a little bit now. I felt for a while there that I was colouring and nothing was really happening. But I'm feeling a bit more optimistic now, shall we say. Definitely a little bit more optimistic. Right, I do have a question for you guys, and I would like a little bit of feedback if that's possible. I am looking for a colour for these little flowers. I am planning on keeping them all roughly the same colour family, so I would like your suggestions as to what colour you think these flowers should be. So drop it down in the comments below, that would be great, and I will take on board your suggestions and we will make them a certain colour. Just while I'm talking about comments and things as well, there was one thing I wanted to say to you is when I'm doing my introductions and my videos and things, I tend not to talk about leaving comments and leaving likes and that sort of thing. And because we are growing in numbers now, I mean, we're up over 4,000 subscribers now, which is just absolutely bananas. But there are a lot more people watching the videos, and there's a bigger sort of diversity, a bigger demographic watching the videos. And I am starting to get a lot more thumbs down on my videos, and it's something that I never really used to have. So I would ask you, if you're enjoying this video, and if you're still watching after like half an hour now, I'm sure you must be enjoying it, can you just take a moment to pop a thumbs up underneath this video? Just stop what you're doing and hit that thumbs up button, that would be great. I'm never going to persuade the people that like to put thumbs down on videos to not do it, but I can ask the people that maybe don't do either or to start doing it, because that kind of, it affects your, for want of a better phrase, a bit of a vulgar phrase, but affects your rankings of your video, you know, how high up in the Google search. The Google and the YouTube search, but it affects like how high up that listing you are, and obviously the higher up you are, the more people will see your videos. So if it's something that you're not in the habit of doing, if you could maybe start doing it for me, that would be lovely. You'll always get people that will thumbs down your videos. Some people do it because they just don't like that particular video, and that's absolutely fine. But then you get people that will thumbs down without actually watching the video, and that happens a lot. And I am starting to see a lot more thumbs down now. I was lucky if I had 1 or maybe 2 per video, but now it's getting more like 3, 4, 5. I'm like, okay, what am I doing wrong? What do you not like? But you can't please everybody all of the time. Right, this pencil I'm using here is Sapphire Blue. This is almost the colour of paint that was going in my toilet. So I'm trying to keep with a blue theme for the mushrooms. So I figured that this would be a good starting point. And I'm trying to go 2 layers of this, and I'll maybe darken down underneath the caps there, we'll see. But this is a really pretty shade of blue, I really like it. And there we are. So let's see if we've got, if we're in Sapphire, I think we'll go down to Egyptian Blue, which again is quite sort of fitting for the theme recently after my Anubis picture, which again some of you liked, and thank you for leaving comments on that video. I had great fun with that too. I'm not really an ink person, but I like to, you know, I like to sort of jump about between mediums and keep trying things and keep learning things, so that keeps me on my toes. Right, so this side's going to be darker. Oh, this is a nice blue there. Yeah, I like this a lot. We'll pull this in here. And maybe these little lines that are coming down, they're like little creases, little, excuse me, they're like little crinkles. Crinkles, there's that word again. I've used that word recently as well. Crinkles. Just full of good words, I'm Scottish. And then I'm just back with this Sapphire Blue. And I can just build up a wee bit of colour now, that's quite nice. And maybe a bit more of the Egyptian in here, right enough. Make this a little bit darker. And then we can start building this up here. Just kind of work a section at a time here, because I do feel as if this mushroom is in sections. Ooh. I'm quite liking that. Jock's humping about behind me as usual. He's a bit more settled today. Last day we were in here filming, he couldn't find a place to put himself. He just wasn't a happy camper at all, and he was just sort of chucking himself down again there, but he's quite settled today. His coat is particularly itchy just now because he's casting, and he's quite an itchy dog anyway. He has a lot of allergies, but it's like every 2 seconds he's having a dig about at his belly or whatever, and it's so frustrating because he can't help it. And there's only so much you can do for him. He does have medication to take, but it obviously makes him quite miserable. And being someone who suffers from itchy skin myself, I completely understand. So I feel kind of sorry for him. It's a shame. I'm just trying to decide. I think this one might be of the same species as this one. So we shall have a go at that. I'm going to make it a lot darker though, because it's in behind again. It's kind of half shielded by this one. But it's got these same lines coming down, so I'm just looking over the other side to see if there's any the same on the opposite side, and there isn't, so these will be the only 2 in these colours. So this is going to be mostly darker in here. I might even go a shade darker again. Yeah, let's go shade. So I think I'm going to have to go down to probably the Midnight Blue. That's a very inky colour, but I like it. I do like these sort of dark blue colours. I call them the moody blues. You know, when you're going down to sort of indigos and heading more towards like sort of grey tones almost. Now let's see what that looks like. Oh yeah, okay. I don't want to do too much there though. So I'm starting to think now what I'm going to do at the weekend. You know, perhaps getting a little bit excited because I don't work my proper job at the weekends. I don't work Saturday or Sunday, and I'm thinking, oh, I wonder what I'll do with my spare time this weekend, and then just laugh at myself. Spare time, what's that? Like, don't know what that is. Yeah, because it's going to be painting. Painting and housework, that's my reward for working all week. I'll do some painting, oh goodness me. It's just one of those things. We're having continued disasters on the farm as well. Mr. Jem was involved in an accident a week or so ago, and before anybody panics, he's fine. He's absolutely a-okay. Unfortunately, his tractor is not. He was actually going back to the old place, like to the old farm, and it wasn't Mr. Jem's fault, and he was turning into the farm. He was in the tractor and he was turning into the farm, and someone came from 3 or 4 cars back and tried to overtake him, and obviously because he was turning in, ran straight into the side of him. The gentleman in question was going that fast that he actually snapped the engine block in the tractor. Now, Mr. Jem's tractor is not a small tractor, so he must have been going at a reasonable rate of knots to cause that much damage, and his car basically just like concertinaed up. He was okay, and he had his little girl in the car with him, which is what Mr. Jem was most worried about, and what we're all most worried about. And she was taken to hospital because she hit her head off the windscreen. So we don't know whether she wasn't in a booster seat, because the regulations in the UK are if you're under a certain height, you've got to be in a safety seat, either a booster seat or a proper baby seat if it's a small child. So she's either slipped out under her seat belt, or she's gone out over the top. She's not been strapped in properly, and she's missed the airbag, because the airbags did go off. So we're a wee bit concerned about that. Just not a nice thing to have happen to anyone. But Mr. Jem, he was a wee bit sore down his side. Obviously there was a bit of a bump, but if you're going to be in an accident, the safest place to be is in a tractor, because there's not a lot that's going to sort of unseat you, as it were. So that was that was last week. I hate those phone calls as well, because when Mr. Jem phones me, see when something's gone wrong and I'm not there, he starts off, I'll answer the phone and I'll say hello, and he says, "Don't panic, love, but," and I go, "Oh no, right, so we're either injured, or we're going to hospital, or something like catastrophic has happened." So I knew the minute he said that, I thought, oh, what's gone wrong? But I knew that he was okay, because if he wasn't okay, he wouldn't be phoning me. And that's, I never panic when he says, "Don't panic, love, but," because I'd be panicking if someone else was phoning me, not him. So he's had to look for a new tractor. He actually drove it to the engineers, to the mechanics, to see if he could get it fixed, and they opened the bonnet and took one look at it and laughed at him, and they're like, "We can't believe you actually drove this here, because like basically it's about to snap in two." So that was entertaining. But so we just hope they don't tell you, what happens after the accident, but we really just hope that the little girl's okay. So that's going to be another trip to court for Mr. Jem. The police are charging the gentleman with dangerous driving, because that section of road is actually a double white line, so under no circumstances are you supposed to cross it. Even if the road's clear, you're not supposed to overtake in that stretch. So he's getting charged. So back to court we go. We've been through this a few times now. It's amazing actually though that at the old place, the number of accidents there, because the farm was out onto more or less a main road, like a trunk road. So there was quite a lot of traffic there, and there's a staggered junction where there was a lot of accidents. And there's quite a few times where we've had to, go and make sure people are okay, or phone the police. But the best one was, and the reason it's the best one is because no one was hurt. There was a gentleman who came off the road into one of our fields, so he bust through the fence and into the field. There was no other cars involved, and we were trying to figure out what happened, so we went down to make sure he was okay and we'll phone the police. And he was sat in the driver's seat of his car, and he was like, "Oh no, oh no, oh no." And I said to him, "Are you okay? What's wrong?" He passed out. He'd just been to the tattoo parlour, and he passed out on the way home after getting his tattoo done. Obviously blacked out at the wheel, and then put the car through the fence into the ditch into the field. So that was quite funny, but he was absolutely fine. The front of his car was a bit dented, but it was fixable. And so he came off onto like the verge at the side. He didn't cross over to the other side of the road, so no great disasters there. But that was a new fence for us again. So we've had a few of those as well. We used to, sometimes we get fencing contractors in, but if it's just a little bit, we usually do it ourselves. So I fixed that bit of fence a few times in the years that we were there. So, but yeah, that's the best one. I tell that to the police officer when he comes. Why did you crash your car? Well, I've just had a tattoo. It was quite a big tattoo, to be fair. It was all the way, it was like the bottom half of his leg, like the entire bottom half. So that's a fair bit of work in that. And I imagine, speaking from personal experience, you might not feel too hot after having all that done. Certainly shouldn't have been driving. I think maybe he just tried to drive home too soon, you know, he thought he was okay. But yeah, so police officers loved that one. Right, I'm quite happy with that little mushroom stroke toadstool cap. I keep looking at these ones here because there's loads of them, so I think that may be too much blue. I'll have to ponder that one some more as well. This one, which kind of looks similar to these ones but isn't, I think we'll go like turquoisey colour. And I do believe there is a pencil called turquoise. Yes, let's go turquoise and shamrock for that. Turquoise A017. Oh yeah, that's a nice colour like that. One of the things that I really enjoy about busier pictures like this is just going with the flow and picking a colour that takes your fancy. I mean, with simpler pictures I quite often try and create like a cohesive colour scheme, and that's not so important when you're doing a large picture like this unless it is your sole intention. So I really enjoy just sort of going on a whim. It's happening more and more now as I become a bit more experienced as an artist and a bit more experienced as a YouTuber as well. But I'm really enjoying the sort of freedom and the disorganisation's the wrong word, the lack of planning in this kind of thing. And it's really funny because in my everyday life I am the person, like, I have to have a rigid routine. I don't like surprises. I like to have control of everything. So I don't know, maybe this is just my what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe this is just my avenue to, you know, to get away from that, and like I feel I can do it and this is a safe environment to do it. And I would be really interested to hear if any of you are like that as well. And it was the same when I was writing. I used to be either called a planner or a pantser, and a planner is someone who had, you know, like really sort of rigid outlines of their story and everything all set out, and they knew exactly what they were doing before they started writing. And a pantser, as the name suggests, is someone who used to write by the seat of their pants and just kind of make it up as they went along. And I was very much a planner and not a pantser, and it seems to be with art that I am a pantser. So I just find that very interesting, but I couldn't do that with the rest of my life because that would send me into a frenzy. You ask anybody, especially Mama Jem just now, because obviously we're living in quite close proximity and she's inside with me in the house most of the day. I am not an easy person to live with. I really am not. I'm very particular and very fussy about people moving things and touching things and things being done in a certain order. So it would seem that that art is my escape from that. It's like I'm just having a wee party to myself every time I do some art. Right, I'll get a bit more shamrock down here. I'm quite liking the sort of delicate, you know, the sort of pale green that's going on here. Might have to get a darker pencil again. I don't know what I would go for. It's going to be parakeet. This is a bit of an adventure as well because I'm not used to these pencils. You know, this is the first time I'm really using them in any sort of scope. And when you tend to jump between pencils that are very familiar to you, it changes things quite considerably. Okay, here's parakeet. Yeah, okay, that's good. Get a good bit of this down here. All I'm doing here is just trying to get that sort of curvature and a bit more of a 3D feel to things. But this is one of these things, you do it in stages. Slowly, slowly, catchy monkey. Can you see what I've done down here now? So I'm giving that feeling that there's a bit of texture and it's a bit more kind of like lumpy bumpy. There you go, there's that professional terminology again, lumpy bumpy. Not to be confused with knobbly bobbly. I'm just putting a little semicircle around some of these. I like fungi kind of dots. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. And there's another one of these all the way over here, hiding down in here. So I think I'll more or less dispense of the, what pencil was it? The turquoise. I'll maybe pop a little bit round here, because I'm thinking that the most of that's going to be quite dark, because it is tucked quite far in behind. So we'll go with the shamrock. Oh, there we go, that's pretty good. And then we'll work away with this parakeet. Yeah, so in the meantime, with Mr. Jem being down a tractor, he has a hire tractor. They tend to be ex-demonstrator models, so they're always new and they don't necessarily give you a like-for-like swap. It's a bit like if you have to get a courtesy car, you don't always get similar to what you had, but it's, you know, it's only temporary. So Mr. Jem rocks up in the yard with this tractor, and the only way to describe it is it looks like a transformer. It's a big, mean looking thing, and there's like 16 billion steps to climb up and get inside it. And when you climb inside it, it's like the Starship Enterprise. I don't even know what half those buttons do. So nothing would do. One night, Mama Jem and I decided in our infinite wisdom we would go out and just go and have a play in it. So now bearing in mind that Mama Jem's not long had her knee replaced, but she was for climbing up in that tractor, and she did with no problems. So we got in and we started sort of messing about and just like, you know, trying to find out what things does. And Mama Jem found the horn. And you would expect a vehicle of that stature to have a big meaty horn, and we hit it and it was like a horn in a mini. It went beep beep. And that's just the single funniest thing ever, this great big manly tractor. So I said to Mr. Jem, I said, you better hope you don't have to use the horn on that, because you're going to be like absolutely embarrassed. So it was very, very funny. I don't know whether that's one of those ones where you had to be there, but it was very funny. Very, very funny. Not so macho now if you have to beep your horn. It's like, you know the horns in the go-karts you get, or the old-fashioned rubber. It's like one of those. Funny. I'm just going to pop a little bit there. Just trying to build up this colour. I want this to be a lot richer, but I don't want to lose too much of the, you know, the variance in the colour. I think that's about as good as we're going to get with that one. I'm going to use indigo for these ones. I'm going to use indigo as my base colour, if I can find it. There we go. And I can use Prussian blue and midnight blue as the sort of darker shades again. Because I've realised as well that these ones, they aren't exactly the same as these ones. But what I might do is, if I just zoom out here, I might use this lighter colour over here for these. And then I can maybe use some of these other blues on the different types of toadstools that are going on over here, because we've got these flat ones and then we've got this one that looks to kind of like just be out on its own. So that might be an idea. We'll see. It depends on what colour I'm going to do these flowers as well, which is down to you guys. So again, thoughts please underneath. But we'll stick with the dark blue for these two here, because there are only the, oh no, we've both got that one as well. I might do that one in the same colour as well. Anyway, while we're pondering that, let's get some pencil down. Make this really sort of dark and luscious. Maybe these ones are poisonous. I'm going to make that really dark under there as well. Okay, so now I've got Prussian blue, and I can just mark out where I want these darker areas to be. So I want that side to be darker generally. I think we'll leave a couple of texture type lines, contours up here. Yeah, they're quite dark and moody. Again, this is going to be quite dark up here. It's, you know, it's kind of tucked in there out the way a little bit. And then this one up the top, I feel as if it should just be indigo, because it's, you know, it's kind of a bit further up. So I'll maybe just stick to one pencil here and just shade that very slightly over there. Really build up some layers on this right hand side. Yeah, like that. For this underside here, I'm going to go between the lightest colour, which is indigo, and the midnight. For, you know, the sort of the underskirt, I know what I mean, because there is going to be a little bit of light hitting there. So we use our lightest colour for that, but then it's going to be quite dark everywhere else. So if we use our darkest pencil for that, again, that gives you that little bit of contrast that I'm always going on about. Contrast is everything. It is everything. Yeah, I'm happy with that, and I think it's a bit tight to be doing anything with under here, so we'll just go for it. Ooh, there we go. Put a little bit of colour in at the back there. But again, the light might be catching that back part, so we don't want to go too heavy with that. Righty ho, what do we think to that, guys? Now I'm going to have a contrasting colour for these caps, but I think I'm going to make it the same colour across all of these. So I think we should go for like this marmalade colour might look good. Let me find this. So we're into sort of salmony, corally colours, but I want this to be really light though. I literally just want to cover the white of the paper, because we really do, we have an awful lot going on here. So I'm going to try it on this one here. Yeah, I think that's going to look okay. You know, so it's not white paper, but it's not adding any more colours to assault our eyeballs. I would like a darker version of this though, and I think I'm probably going to have to go down to coral. Yeah, okay, right, I'm happy with that. That's pretty good. That's something else I want to talk about. So someone was really offended because again, this was just like a stupid social media thing, but someone was really offended because someone was addressing people with the phrase guys and they were accusing them of being sexist. I don't know about you, but when I use the phrase guys, I use that to refer collectively to a group of people, and it doesn't matter whether they're male or female. And when I say it, I say guys. I mean, you know, guys and dolls. It's a shortened form of guys and dolls. I know sometimes I use ladies and gentlemen, but I find it slightly alarming that someone would be offended by that, unless it was used in what was like a very obvious malicious sense, which I don't think anyone ever would do. I was a little bit puzzled by that one. So I hope nobody's offended because I say guys all the time, because I do say that a lot, and I know I say that a lot. But it'd be interesting to find out. I think people were just getting a bit oversensitive, and I do tend to be in that camp of people take offence far too easily. And that just comes, I mean, I'm a farmer, like, we've got pretty thick skins anyway, we're not easily offended people, but I do find that it's very easy for things to be taken in the wrong context, especially on the internet, and it's very easy to misconstrue emotions and tones when it's written down in text form. And I do try to be careful, but again, I just kind of feel it's back to this: if people know me, you know, the likes of the regular viewers, all of you, and my serial commenters and my veteran subscribers, you know that as a person I am not likely to be disrespectful in that sense, and if I had something to say, I wouldn't be doing it in a sort of underhand way like that to try and offend somebody. I would just say, oh, I don't like this because this is why I don't like it, and I would be quite diplomatic about it. But, you know, we come across strangers every day on the internet, so these things happen really easily. But I'm just, I think it's because I'm a person that's not easily offended. There's things that annoy me, especially on the internet, and I feel pretty strongly about them, but that doesn't mean I'm necessarily going to do anything about it, because it's not really worth it. It's not worth the hassle. As my grandmother always says, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. What do we think? That looks okay, doesn't it? I haven't really decided about this underside yet. I might pop that in there. Yeah, let's just do it. Let's do it. Those two colours are actually, or two sets of colours, are really pretty together. I quite like this. I'll have to remember this. So that's marmalade and coral with turquoise and shamrock. Oh yes, we're getting there now. Alright guys, I think I'm going to call it quits at that for today. It is getting near that time where I will have to start doing something about dinner, or else everyone in the Gem household will starve this evening. So I'd love to hear what you think. Remember to hit a thumbs up under the video as well. I want to thank you very much for coming and hanging out with me. I appreciate the support as always, and I will see you back in the cave really soon for another video. Have a good day everyone, please stay safe and sensible. Bye for now.